Whether it's because they went against their company or because they had past scandals, these K-pop idols are facing unofficial and silent bans from the industry. But who are the artists that you haven't seen on stage because they were blacklisted? We can't technically talk about blacklisted idols without mentioning JYJ as the ones that changed everything. JYJ was a boy group consisting of 3 former TVXQ members, Kim Junsu, Kim Jae-jung, and Park Yoo-chun, that debuted in 2010. The 3 had shook things up in July of 2009 when they sued their company SM Entertainment over unfair contract terms. They claimed their 13-year contracts were unreasonably long, there were schedules that were set without their permission, some of the terms had been changed without their knowledge, and the group's earnings hadn't been distributed fairly. The news made SM Entertainment's stock price drop by more than 10%. The 3 were granted a temporary contract injunction in October of 2009, but the lawsuit didn't come to an end until November of 2012. Both sides had agreed to withdraw their lawsuits and agreed to not interfere with each other's activities. As you might have guessed, SM didn't end up holding their end of the deal. Despite now being free of their slave contracts and the unfair terms of their former company, JYJ didn't have it easy. They were silently blacklisted from the industry due to SM being powerful enough to influence broadcasting and distribution companies. The company used its influence with other famous SM artists to stop JYJ from making guest appearances and appearing publicly. So they couldn't appear on television, and their albums and songs weren't distributed in the country, which was just devastating for the members. Junsu had even said, "At the very least, when I have an album out, even if it is just once or twice, I'd like to sing my song on TV. That's all I want, but it's so hard." The situation was so bad that in November of 2015, the Broadcasting Act had the so-called JYJ law approved. This law aimed to stop the unfair blocking of artists from performing. Even though music show producers still have influence over casting, they can't blacklist artists without valid reasons anymore. But even if they had a law named after them, doesn't mean that the ban was lifted entirely, just that SM would find ways around it. Junsu had talked about how he had asked different producers to appear on a show, only to be hit with refusal and the excuse that there's nothing they could do. KBS had even replied to fans questioning why Junsu didn't appear on their shows after his comeback, saying the situation was complicated. Due to the lack of TV appearances, he questioned if he could still be considered a celebrity, as he didn't expect to be unable to appear on TV for such a long time, which made him question whether he should continue pursuing his career. The ban was lifted only a few years ago, with Jae-jung's first appearance on a TV variety show being in 2019 on Taste of Dating 2. It's important to add that Park Yoo-chun remains banned, but for entirely different reasons, which we won't get into, at least not today. Despite the fact that we've seen the members more these few recent years, we can bet that it was hard to go from being some of the most famous members of one of the most popular groups to not being able to even promote your music. JYJ weren't the only former SM Entertainment members to be blacklisted from the industry because the company decided to be petty. Former Super Junior member Han Gang was allegedly blacklisted after filing a lawsuit against them, citing unfair contract terms as the reason. The former EXO members Luhan, Tao, and Chris were also blacklisted for leaving the company on bad terms, and of course because of their lawsuit. However, a noteworthy ban we should talk about is that of former Girls' Generation's member Jessica. As we all have heard, Jessica was kicked out of the group on September 30th of 2014. She ended up leaving the company a year later, which made fans assume that SM would leave her alone to continue her career in peace. That wouldn't be farther from the truth. In February of 2016, she signed a contract with KOOKIELIT Entertainment and released her first solo single called Fly, along with a music video. And later on, in May 2016, her debut solo album titled With Love J was also released. For her debut album, Jessica said that she would be appearing on Radio Star to promote the release. However, on May 2nd, Radio Star came out with a statement saying that her appearance on the show would be pushed for a later date. As you might have guessed, she never ended up going on the show. After that, her broadcast appearances started getting canceled one by one. She had multiple schedules lined up on SBS, but they were suddenly canceled without explanation. Initially, SBS claimed it was Jessica's choice, but later they confessed they had lied about it. They also mentioned planning to show her appearances at a later time, which never happened. She had also been leading in an Inkigayo poll, but then her name was deleted from it with no explanation. The situation was never addressed by Jessica explicitly, but there were implications of her being blacklisted due to SM's influence in the industry. To start with, a fan had once asked Jessica if she wanted to perform on music shows. Jessica replied, "I want to go on these music shows, but you know why I can't do it, right?" She couldn't have been any clearer even if she tried to. A few years later, Jessica appeared on YG Entertainment's Survival Show, which marked her first TV appearance in 3 years. During the show, she was asked by Seungri why she didn't appear on any broadcasts anymore, which made the situation awkward. Of course, Jessica didn't explicitly say that she was blacklisted, but Seungri had said, "It's all right if it's JTBC, if it's SBS, you'll get into trouble, which said a lot because, as mentioned before, SBS was one of the broadcasting stations that canceled most of her appearances. Seeing as Jessica just recently had her comeback with a mini album, we're curious to see whether she can still promote it on music shows or not. Though this hasn't been confirmed yet, the 3 former members of 50/50 are currently in danger of being blacklisted from the industry, despite the fact that they've been active only for about a year. The group's lawsuit against their company I-DLE was one of the most shocking things that happened this year. Whether you think they were in the wrong or not, the girls faced major scrutiny for suing their agency after their song Cupid had become an international hit, with many people accusing them of being greedy. The details of the whole dispute are long and messy, but what we should focus on in this video is an SBS report that came out in July of this year. This report said that 50/50 were in danger of being blacklisted due to what was happening. The Korean Entertainment Management Association had also shown support to I-DLE, which only furthered the belief that the group would be banned from broadcasting stations, especially considering that I-DLE filed a lawsuit of billions of won against the members, their parents, and the givers. Their future in the industry is pretty much over. However, even if the group isn't officially blacklisted, it's safe to assume that they'll never be able to promote either way. With how much the netizens are against them, no broadcasting station would be taking a risk by having the members promote their shows. Their lawsuit has made it impossible for them to have normal idol careers, and now they'll be forced to live the rest of their lives as far away from the public eye as possible. The last idol we need to mention on this list is Soojin. Soojin's scandal is also a pretty well-known one. She used to be one of the most popular members of I-DLE before she was hit with accusations of mistreatment. It was one of the most shocking scandals of 2021, and it went on for quite a while. As expected, it ended with Sujin leaving the group and the company and going into hiding to avoid public scrutiny. She disappeared from the public eye for 2 years before making her solo debut with Agashi in November of this year. The debut did pretty well, and it had a lot more sales than it was expected from an idol with such a big scandal and received a lot of support from fans. However, Sujin never ended up promoting her debut anywhere. After Agashi was released, an insider shared that Sujin would be halting her Korean promotions and direct her attention to her schedules overseas, which made fans think that she had been blacklisted due to her scandal. It didn't help that her company, BRD Entertainment, had stated that they didn't have any music broadcast activities scheduled as they'd communicate with the fans on social media and through YouTube. They went on to state, "It's not that we aren't completely not promoting at the moment. The fan signing event has already been held once and will continue in the future." Since then, Soojin has revealed that she would be holding concerts in both Australia and New Zealand, calling it the Flowering Fan Concert Tour. She also held 2 fan meetings in Tokyo, Japan, but other than that, she hasn't been promoted in Korea at all, except for an appearance on Studio Choom. This has raised the question, is she blacklisted from the industry, or do the higher-ups not want to take risks when it comes to having her on their shows? Since the company seems set on giving her a career, we'll see what happens on her first comeback. All in all, we hope that we can see her on stage again whenever that happens. Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next time.